Everybody, welcome to the Sci-Fi Sisters podcast, where we give you our point of view. We are proud members of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and I'm Sister Tamia, and I'm joined today by my sisters, Yvette Blackman-Tom.
Hello.
Sabrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
And Fran T.
As always, what's happening?
Who's that? Oh, you're so sedate today. She's
Sedate,
so calm.
yes.
Like she's all like, I'm copacetic. She's
Right.
all jazzy. Jazzy Fran. What's happening is that, yeah, you guessed it. We've got a fantastic guest on. This is a woman who we adore, and we are so happy to be able to talk to her for the first time on the show. She's a really accomplished actress, but we all know her as Hoshi Sato from Star Trek Enterprise. Oh, excuse me, it's just Enterprise.
It's both. Depends on the season.
And who you and which fan you're talking to, right? So welcome, Linda Park. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Sisters, I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
I'm so excited. I know. Look at Sabrina. She's like,
Warm fireplace with cocoa. I got my sweatpants on. I'm ready.
I'm ready to.
yes.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You know, like so the Sabrina is a huge Enterprise fan. Like humongo. And you have always been her girl, Hoshi.
Hoshi's my
girl. Hoshi has always been her girl.
That's what she said. Hoshi's my girl.
Okay, so we did a top 10 women of Star Trek show, and Hoshi made it, and Sabrina made the pitch for that, right? Like, come on, Sabrina, give us a little bit of the pitch, right?
Hoshi.
You love
Tell us.
You have no idea how much I love this show. And I found a show, I watched it regular broadcast like everybody did, all over the world and all over the place. But it was when it came into streaming and I got to sit and watch it like one after another that I just went, this show is really great. And I fell in love with Hoshi because you had one of the best arcs of any character I've seen in a Star Trek show. I mean, that I don't even want to be on this ship, Hoshi, that you started out. I don't want to go into space. I just want to sit here in the tropics teaching my languages. Why are you even asking me? To like Empress of the Mirror Universe. The things they did to you. And I just love that character and the way you presented her and everything they put you through in that show.
Yeah. It was great representation. I loved it.
It was, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means
I love it.
Honestly, like it's interesting, recently I think streaming has really given Enterprise like a second life, and like younger generations. The set I was just on, the second AD, she was like, we worked together, and you're on sets, and oftentimes like ADs or camera operators will be like, we worked on something, let me think about it. Oh, yeah, Mentalist or whatever. And then she came back later, she's like, I know. She's like, I just binged Enterprise. She's like, I'm obsessed. I'm such a like was geeking out. And I was like, wow, and it wasn't the first time this has happened with the younger people too.
Yeah, I bet.
A friend of mine in New York recently, where I was back in New York, and she's a very accomplished milliner, like hat designs. And J-Lo had her hat on an album cover, the like diamond studded one where there's faces.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Yeah.
Heidi's hat, and Lauren sported Heidi's hat, and Beyonce just wore Heidi's hat. So she's very and Heidi recently, she was like, I don't want to tell you, but recently I watched Enterprise, and she totally nerded out, and she watched it streaming. And
Mhm.
she was, and she's like this cool hip. And it was back in the day when I was on the show, I was like, I want to be on a cooler show. I'm sorry, guys. I was young.
Oh, I get that. I
We
get
get
that.
that.
We get that. Yeah, yeah. Because I think
Why aren't we on CP?
Sabrina loved it from then. I think we're just getting into it, watching it all the time. Yeah.
I make them.
Really love for more people to kind of revisit
Yeah.
because there was something very grounded and human in Enterprise that is very particular and unique to that show. Not only because it's closest to the timeline for us,
Mhm.
the spirit of I don't know, always the metaphor is the greatest potential of humanity and the greatest parts of ourselves that we want to aspire to evolve to. But in Enterprise, it was so much more messier.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, I think the thing about that show that really gets me is that you all projected people who were the top and the best of their worlds, and then you're thrown into this world where you are no longer that. And they had to deal with the fact that they didn't know the answers, they didn't know where they were, they didn't know where they were going sometimes, they didn't know what was happening, and it was really hard. They had to bond together as a group and use everybody's expertise to make it to the next whatever was going to happen. And I thought that was really something you didn't see so much in the other shows because everything had already been discovered. They already knew what was going on. The fleet was Starfleet was the thing. But this was like, well, we don't know what we're doing. We're just making this up as we go along. And I love that aspect of the show. That was what really got me.
Yeah, I watched a little bit back because I show my son some clips because he's now really getting into things like action and spaceships and good guys and bad guys. And I mean, I don't love that kind of binary good guy, bad guy, but I'm
Mhm.
really, you're watching Octonauts. And so watching it, I'm remembering nostalgically. I don't know how much you guys know, but I got this show, right? Like literally out of drama school,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it was my third day. My first job was Jurassic Park, and that was like I was in LA for 2 weeks. And the first
Wow.
was with Sam Neill and Laura Dern. And I remember, I mean, this is kind of like in the genre world as well. Like
Mhm.
I was coming out to say my line to Laura Dern and Sam Neill. And I remember like waiting in the house, and then the the assistant or whatever was going to say, okay, go, action. And I was so nervous already. And I remember going out to say a very simple line, like something like, there's a phone call for you to. And I walked out, and in my memory, it felt like it was a football stadium.
Mhm.
I remember there's this high crane camera, and there were like oceans of people. And I came out, and I was like,
Oh,
I
Oh boy.
remember what to say. So I went, I forgot my line. And Sam
Uh-oh.
had been in the car with me on the way to set and knew it was my first day on set and I graduated. And so then he turned around and said, everybody, this is her first day ever on a set.
No.
You took your bow.
First day on the set. And then everyone clapped, and it really warmed me up. And then funnily enough, some years later, Sam Neill and I were in a pilot together, a series ordained. It never got picked up. It had Audra McDonald, Charlie Cox, and
Wow.
Davis, Sam Neill, great cast. But I reminded him, I was like, Sam, I don't know if you remember me, but that was such a moment of kindness that stayed forever, and showed me like the kind of when I become a more like an elder in the acting
Okay.
to be like that towards people. And
Right.
Well, it was the same way. Scott showed me a lot of like,
Mm,
that's how I want to be. And I can compare it to other number ones on sets, and that's not
mhm.
always the case.
Mhm.
We
Wow.
hear that a lot. We hear that a lot. Yeah.
You know? But so Enterprise was my third day ever on a set as a series regular. They're making 3D like holograms for my action figure. They have this girl come on set who says that she's there to help us should we have stalkers. I started receiving fan mail like before it even aired, somebody threatening to kill Brandon Braga for me, or so,
Wow.
like crazy, crazy. But that was very parallel to Hoshi. Like
Mhm.
I channeled all of my self-doubt, insecurity. I felt that her first launch into space, from being in academia to actually now having to translate Klingon or whatever, was like from me in academia being in drama school to now having to be a, a Star Trek like TV star, and I was like,
Yeah.
how the freak to do this? Like, I just messy. I'm messy. So Hoshi's going to be, and Hoshi wasn't like that in the pie. There was a lot, and they saw what I was doing. So then they
Mhm.
kept getting
Ah.
her to be, because originally she was like in her late 30s.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Really?
One, and then they started and so when they first heard me, like, I guess they had me, actually a funny story. I think it's from Fight or Flight. Like when I
Mm.
see all the alien dead
Oh my
bodies,
God.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that one.
they thought my screaming was so good that they recorded it and used it later in two nights when somebody's being tortured.
Oh, wow.
Different episode.
Wow.
They're like, and and for me, that was a way to really, um, I I think a lot in metaphor in my life, like and that's, Joseph Campbell. I'm big on power of myth, and for a while during Star Trek, I was really exploring like what is it about sci-fi that speaks to more of an existential human
Mhm.
dilemma of why are we here? What
Mhm.
we capable of? I think like, you watch the success of these superhero movies, especially adolescent kids who love the idea of the superhero, is that this feeling that there's something untapped in each of us. And as
Mm.
avatars, we see because that exists in us. And so of seeing like, so for me, putting Hoshi and myself in like mirror universes, would you say?
Mhm. Mhm.
It was really helpful to ground myself when I was so nervous. Because like we are talking about before we started recording, if you suppress something, it
Mhm.
just gets in your way. If I
Yep.
suppressed my fear, I would have I just wouldn't. And instead, I was like, I'm going to use this. And something
Mm.
I definitely think about in what saved me in a rough childhood is that my body somehow knew how to use the raw energy of anger,
Mhm.
frustration, and to use that as a raw material of energy and transmute it to succeeding, creating.
Mhm.
I just gave a talk. I was honored by my high school as a woman of impact, and I was
Yeah,
saying
Yeah, I was going to
congratulations.
ask you about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
go back and
Mhm.
mostly to talk with the kids. That was my favorite. The girls, it was my favorite part, was that, you know, with a troubled kid, and I was that kid, if we understand that those raw materials of anger, all that may be considered negative, if we see them in their raw state, is very powerful.
Mm.
Mhm.
Are we going to direct that very powerful, potent energy? And it can lift you to that superhero
Mhm.
level,
Sure can.
or it can drag you right down to
Yeah.
low level we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where you're
Mhm.
low level plane. And so when I have that in my sphere, I choose not to engage. I choose not to, because if I engage in that negativity with somebody else and I react rather than respond, that only hurts me,
Mhm.
Mm.
pulled down into their personal hell. And I refuse to get pulled into somebody's personal hell,
You
like
got that right.
self out of it. I'm-
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you want to live there, as your
Have
personal,
at it.
but I am a free person and I'm free in my mind and I'm free in my, and that's where true freedom is inside of us.
Mhm.
Have the choice.
I love that. Respond rather than react.
Yeah. We're
Mhm.
so powerless to the ungovernability of life, as we just saw.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There are
Mhm.
some things, whether they be the results of an election, a tornado, a random shooting, you know,
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
it is out of it is the world is chaos, beautiful and ugly. Both chaoses exist. And the only thing that I have agency over is my internal landscape.
Mhm.
I think a big thing for me that I strive towards, it's foundational, is how can I feel safe? How can I make myself safe internally so that I can be a safe person for other people?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't feel safe inside. I can't be safe for anybody else.
True.
And on the other hand, I would say that if I don't feel safe inside myself, my work as an artist can never be risky, because I don't feel safe at that root base. Then my work
Mhm.
is safe because I don't feel safe. But if I am safe, then my work can really be like,
Right.
I'm grounded. I,
Right.
I got me. And it's such I mean, this is becoming more of like a
A TED Talk.
like whatever it is, but yeah, so circling back to now, I'm able to look back and really on so many different levels appreciate enterprise, appreciate my performance. I mean, if you'll believe it, like when it first came out, I was so hard on myself. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like my,
Mm.
it's just like I never want to see myself on TV again.
Oh.
Not watch it. I cannot watch it. And
Mm.
and I look back now and I'm like, oh, she was so cute. Why
She
did
was.
Hoshi, you were rocking that jumpsuit. Come
Come
on.
on
Right?
now.
so bad? I was like, oh, I always was like, I have such like a, now I'm grateful for it, because having a chubby face when you're younger, oh, that will pay off when you're older.
Mm.
Sure will.
That's why I want to tell all my my 20-year-olds, like, girls that I know, they're like, oh, my face is so chubby. I was like, just wait. Just
Wait. Mhm.
you
Right.
got the
You'll be all right.
fillers, you don't need Botox. I mean,
Mhm.
you got like reserves in there. It's like, at the volume that I wanted at. And so now I have to keep reminding myself, Linda, remember when if I ever get hard on myself about like looks, I'm like, appreciate this now. Because remember when you were that 22-year-old and you didn't appreciate it. And now you look back, and I wish I had.
Mhm.
I 60 and look back now at 40 and look at pictures of myself now and be like, oh, why didn't I appreciate like that I'm aging beautifully?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So
Yeah.
Hoshi has helped me a lot. Like, is revisiting Enterprise on many different levels has helped
Awesome.
me a lot.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
watch season 1 over again with a whole new attitude,
Oh,
knowing that
Oh.
you're channeling your like, oh man, because it was, I'll tell you, there's a thing called the Wilhelm scream, which we talked about in another show that I did, and it's a classic scream that they use over and over again. So now we know that there is a Linda Park scream.
I love that.
Called over and over.
Man, that was one of my favorite episodes. Scared the willies out of me on that one. That scream.
Oh my goodness.
That was a good episode.
It
We loved,
was.
like, Hoshi was Hoshi was badass,
She was.
and
Yeah.
like I think, like, I didn't come to appreciate her until later rewatches. Well,
Mhm.
I didn't appreciate Enterprise until later rewatches. Like, I'm not going to
Thank
even
you.
front.
Don't
Like,
lie.
I'm sorry. Like, I can't.
Linda, you don't know how much I'm enjoying this episode.
Yeah, I know.
I am so loving this.
I didn't, because when Enterprise first came out, like, because of what you were talking about, the difference in the tone
Mhm.
and the grittiness of it, like, I wasn't ready for it. Like, I had grown up in the gleaming, bright, clean, sterilized, you know,
Enterprise
TNG.
D, the
TOS and
Enterprise D.
Enterprise
TNG,
D, right?
Mhm.
right? And I wasn't ready for the story that you guys were telling, like how we got there.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be there, right? I didn't want to I didn't want to talk about
You want
the
to do the
hard,
work.
I didn't want to talk about the hard work of getting there. Yeah, I was like, wait, what? We're going back in time? But I remember, like, I started off. What'd you say, Linda?
The translator that never worked.
Oh my
Right.
God, what they did to you. You
That
know,
was actually funny,
That was
that-
funny.
Yeah.
though.
But it was
That was
great
funny.
because you actually, I think that was one of the things I also loved about it, because you were a person who was a linguist, and they were actually describing how you were breaking
That's
down
true.
these
Yeah.
Right.
alien languages. And
Mhm.
I just thought that some of those lines were just brilliant. I just love that they went through that, like, oh yeah, the machine isn't working, but I know.
Yeah.
But that's what I was gonna say. Like, like, when I started rewatching again, that's the type of
Yeah.
stuff that I started to really appreciate what was going on in that show, and
Mhm.
especially with Hoshi.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hoshi
Well, I
saved
re-
their butts many times.
many times.
Yeah.
I
Many.
I have an anecdote about Enterprise. I was trying to get my partner at the time into Star Trek, right? And you all were on, and you had this episode where you went down on this planet, and then you morphed into these other people. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. I'm still trying to get, and I'm like, and then the person that was looking at it with me started laughing, and I'm like, the hell you laughing at? And then I got mad because they was laughing because it was funny, but it wasn't supposed to be funny.
Right.
And then I'm like, you don't have to laugh at Star Trek or whatever. It was, but I couldn't, and I'm like, okay, I'm not looking at Star Trek with you anymore.
Right.
I was trying to get, and this was a serious episode, but she
Right.
was laughing her ass off.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. And then, to be honest with you, I stopped looking at Enterprise.
Mhm.
Then I'm like, I'm not looking at this anymore.
Aw.
Yeah, that's what happened, because it wasn't supposed to be funny, but I could see what she was laughing at, because it was hilarious, but it's supposed to be.
But you went back.
Yeah, I did way later
Mhm.
on. I did, but I
Mhm.
didn't appreciate her laughing. But I
Yeah.
couldn't. I got mad because she did laugh
Right.
at
Right.
at that episode, and I'm like, I'm not looking at. I'm done. I didn't speak to her for maybe 2 days or something like that.
2 days.
Probably
Ooh.
2 days.
Yeah, 2
2
days.
whole days.
But you know what I do love now is that we're talking about how it took us a while to get to Enterprise, but I think I would say that we probably always loved T'Pol and Hoshi, because they were just, I loved everything about those two. Their dynamic when they were together, it was kind of real. Like having, I know when you're at an office and you're the older person at the office and a younger person comes in, or there's an older that dynamic was a really good work relationship, and I love that. But I also love that now the love for Hoshi is crazy because on the I don't know if you saw the Strange New Worlds episode, the crossover with Lower Decks.
Who she was referred to.
Yes. By
Mm-hmm.
Uhura as her idol growing
Yes,
up.
her
And I
hero.
thought that was the best. I
Yes.
mean, yes, of course she was. You know, we were like, right, of course she was. Who else could it have
Who
been?
else?
Right, because
know.
Hoshi wrote the book on it.
Right.
Hoshi did it first.
Right. She was the
The blueprint.
translator.
She
The
was
blueprint.
Hoshi
Yes.
was the pioneer. Hoshi
Yes.
was out
Yeah.
there with no damn book about how to do this mess. That was like, let's
Right,
try
right,
this. Like educated guess.
And she could translate Klingon. I'm like, okay, Hoshi,
So
translate Klingon.
we all love
Okay.
Hoshi now.
Yeah. We all love Hoshi. We love her.
Like, you know, it was interesting because I had to do, I mean, in the audition, I had to do Klingon, but going to drama school, you have to like do so many crazy things with your voice and all these voice exercises. And then I used everything in my drama school voice class training. Like basically this is what I mean, I should have got paid extra. Actually, I think
Go back.
so they would write alien languages and they would say, we want this to sound similar to Chinese inflections, or they'd be like, we want this to kind of be like Swahili, like clicking it. And then they would leave it up to me to make up how it sound and just give me
My
the
goodness.
They'd say, we want it to sound, so listen to this type of dialect and make it sound of that world.
Ooh.
I would have to come up with it myself.
Wow. I mean, you literally
Wow.
did make it up
You
yourself.
were the pioneer.
Write the book.
And
Did write the book, right?
you couldn't just make up the words. Like it wasn't a real language. They would be like, right? But they were actually like the would be like, it's not para little clip, it's para little dip. You know, they would say, and I'm like, nobody in the stage knows how long. Okay, because I am straight up not having to just learn lines in regular English, which other people think is hard, but I'm like, whatever. Boom, boom. Learn alien languages, learn all the lines, make up the inflections. On 2 days, 2 nights. So the language that I'm speaking with the guy that I end up hooking up with.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
They want it to sound like this, and so I was like, all right, I made it up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like very much like I memorize it exactly by phonetically every single word. He couldn't remember them, so during actual takes, he started making up. He was like, gotcha, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. And I was like, I don't know when you're talking.
Right.
Because I don't know what you're saying. I'm like taking my cue off of what your last.
Right.
Oh.
But you just said something that is not on any script anywhere. I look so scared right now as well. Like, so he got a taste of what, and you know, and when John and I had to split, didn't you?
When you were learning to know
Teaching John the inflections.
Oh, no. Oh, I cannot wait to talk to him about that.
So I'm kind of Chinese, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm coming up with it. And then I sit with John. I'm like, all right. So, and so we got on and John's great. He's like a pro. So he got it and all of this. But I literally had another job besides an actor. I was, I don't know, like a music composer of alien languages.
Right. That's what you were.
The vibe to be, give it to us, you know?
Universal translator.
I mean, and it's so funny, like when I look back and I think, I'm like, Linda, good job.
Good job.
Right? That's right.
There
Pat
were a
yourself on
lot
the
of
back.
languages.
Turned
There were
into
a
an
lot.
actual linguist.
Yeah.
Actual linguist.
felt that I spoke other languages already, my first language was Korean, and then I spoke
Mhm.
Spanish. So that's like an Asian language and a Romance language.
Right.
And so that helped. But wow, that was a lot.
I was wondering, people complain about the techno babble, but they got nothing on Linda.
You know,
Mm-mm.
Oh
Nope,
no.
not at all.
nothing.
So, Linda, you're coming on the cruise with us this year.
I am. Unless any work comes up, I will be on that cruise, and I'm excited. I'm excited for
We'll
the
all be there.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, I sorry, I couldn't hear that last bit that you said.
port stops, like snorkeling, scuba diving.
Yep, we do it all. Well,
I'm
you
not
guys-
snorkeling. I'm not scuba diving.
yeah, I knew it was not Fran
Or
Mm-mm.
Sabrina.
or
You-
Sabrina.
I will go on the beach and sit on a chair,
Thank you, Fran.
beach seat, with an umbrella
Mhm.
for about 4 or 5 hours
That
in the
is-
shade.
Good. That's just as good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all gonna be there with you.
Have you
Oh
guys,
yeah, we're gonna be there though.
have you
Yes.
done the
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
This is me and Sabrina's fourth one, right?
Yeah, well, I was on the
This fourth.
very first
Yeah,
one.
fourth.
This
Yeah.
is my
This is your fourth too?
fourth.
Four.
This my-
Okay.
And this
will
will
be
be
my
my
fourth.
third.
Your third. Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm.
super nice? The
Oh, it's wonderful.
It's
Absolutely.
really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna
Mhm.
love it. I mean, because it's so chill and
Mhm.
like you said, everybody's super nice and like there's this nice balance of respect between the artists who are on and the fans who are on. There's like
Mhm.
boundaries that we don't cross, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like there's unwritten rules. Like, if an artist is hanging out on the pool deck or something, like, and you see that they're reading a book and they look happy to just be reading a book, like leave them alone.
Mhm. Yeah,
Leave
yeah.
them alone. But if they like are talking and engaging with people and stuff, then people feel like kind of comfortable. But there's boundaries. Like you don't mess with people while they're eating,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
like, there's it, and it just seems like the whole world, like everybody understands how to be cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, and I think it's because we know that there are 7 days. You don't have to it's not a one time I'm gonna see you. So
Mhm.
they're gonna jump on you. They're like, oh, I saw her. I saw Linda up in the. And they
No,
just start
there's a
looking for
bunch
you.
of that.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of that. Oh my God.
Oh my
But
God.
but it's also like super fun. Like the
Mhm.
like enthusiasm is
Yeah.
just off the charts. Like I get like I'm really excited for it, but I always get like even more excited once I get there and you're with everybody.
Mhm.
And it's just like the collective energy is just so amazing. And and I think like this year our Star Trek community is really going to need each other. And I think
Mhm.
we're looking forward to being with each other,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I can't
Well,
wait.
I
yeah.
tell people I'm going on a cruise, my clients and stuff, and they're like, "Where you going?" I'm like, I really don't know.
I
Somewhere
really
in
don't know.
Mexico or something, but somewhere,
No idea.
somewhere down there on this
In the
the east
Caribbean,
coast of
but
Mexico, blah blah blah. I said, but it's more. It's the fun is on the ship.
Yes.
You see
Yeah.
your friends, and
Mhm.
it's just so exciting to
And the
me.
parties and
Yeah.
Well, we have a
Yeah.
big community, and I think that
Yes.
it's just seeing everybody because we have like mostly people at Vegas, but then there's the ship people, so
Mhm.
and then you get to see all your Star Trek family.
Yeah,
Mhm.
bring a girlfriend along with me.
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
It's awesome.
Yeah, do
She'll love
that.
it.
Do that. Have you been on a cruise before or just not on the Star Trek cruise?
I've never been on a cruise. I've been on like a whale watching boat, and I got very, very seasick.
Oh,
Okay.
that's different though.
Yeah, this is a big boat.
That
That's-
I was like,
Yeah.
But still can get seasick because
You'll be
Yeah.
all
and
right.
I'm on medication. I hate the way I feel on any kind of medication, like Dramamine. I took Dramamine on the whale
Mm.
boat. Horrible, even
Yeah.
almost.
oh.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys
Have
take
you
those
tried?
things?
So I bring the there's these
Acupressure.
acupressure.
I
I
think
wear them the whole time, never, and I do get seasick.
and
But
you have
Mm-mm,
Okay, then
never.
I'll for sure.
But
I'm all
but do it the day before.
yeah to kind of set your system.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do it the day because I get seasick. I can't get on boats. Ever since I started having children, I used to be fine. But the minute I had those kids, just kind of my equilibrium has been off. So, right.
You know,
That's how I feel now. But I put it on the day before or even the night before, and usually I'm fine.
Yeah,
Usually,
I'll do that. I'll do that for sure.
Mhm.
And
They're good. Yeah.
it's pretty cool because the boat is so big, I mean, it really is like this floating city, and that you feel the movement of it sometimes, but you don't really, I don't at least feel it like it becomes part of you, like you just feel the forward motion, like you feel like up and downs if they're, sometimes if the seas are
The
choppy,
water, yeah,
if
choppy.
Triangle of Sadness, that movie.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
no,
Well,
I know the
Sabrina
name
probably
of it,
did.
but
It's phenomenal. It's very, very dark. It's about this cruise ship that crashes on an island. But
Oh.
before it crashes, like they're all in the dining room, and then one person throws up, and then another.
Oh.
oh
oh
no.
gosh.
This is
So
this is not
far,
that.
so far, it's not that.
I've
Not
seen
that. Not
that.
Yeah.
In
I
this
think,
ship, you have when you go to your room, every channel of the TV is a Star Trek show. So it's just Star Trek. Star Trek all the ship is tricked out to look like a ship.
Yeah.
The
Like a Star Trek
elevators,
ship. Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's
I
good. Yeah.
so I can watch other things on my computer.
Yes.
You get yes.
Why on is it just like I guess
The Wi-Fi is pretty good. I paid for the Wi-Fi.
I pay
Yeah,
for
pay
the
for that.
Wi-Fi too.
Mhm.
And it
It's
was
pretty
worth
good.
it for me.
It's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Because
It
those
can't.
times when I was, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Sika.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just because those times when I wanted to relax with something else, I could,
Mhm.
and I wanted to step out of Star Trek for a moment and like let my head go someplace else just to relax. I could do that.
No.
I did.
Me and Yvette, 2 in the morning was
I mean, it was
watching
only like
Trek.
5 or 10 minutes, but
Oh, okay.
Me and Sabrina. Okay, let's go back to the room.
No,
Watch it.
those two, like they're dragging me along. Like they want to do every single thing. And I'm with
Every
them though,
single
because
thing.
we're paying a lot of money to be on this cruise and they
There is
have
still stuff to do on this
activities
list.
to do. And just like it's 1 o'clock and like there's still a party going on. We could go make that up at this deck. Let's do it.
We're on deck 14 doing
14.
silent disco. We're there.
2:30. Earphone silent disco.
I think the only thing I'm kind of excited about is karaoke.
Oh yeah,
Those are
That's
good.
always fun.
Those are fun.
Mhm,
Yeah, and
mhm.
it's usually your cast who does it.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
thought so
It's
fun.
Connor and
It's
Dominic.
Connor.
And
She is actually saying
Anthony
words.
Montgomery.
Linda was actually saying words.
Go ahead, Linda.
Oh.
What did you say?
I said, I think I thought I heard Connor's doing karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's been also it's like interesting to kind of sometimes people will tag me on reels that they made on Instagram, and then I'll see, and there are these like pairings that people wished. They're like, I mean, they try to pair me. The top ones are the ones where they try to pair me with Connor or Archer. But then some try to pair me with Malcolm, which I think is so weird.
Yeah. No. We don't want that.
So poor he thought asking him out from that one episode. I mean,
Oh.
like they're the most it's just like bizarre.
No. We're not doing that. No.
Hoshi and no.
Who would you say on the ship? Like if Hoshi had a romance, and it can be to Paul too, like any Porthos.
Not
Anybody-
Porthos.
Yeah.
No, I kind of like Hoshi I think Hoshi and Paul would be good.
As
Yeah,
like
well, Travis was your boy. Travis was your prank buddy.
well, Well, also in Mirror Universe, he was my
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Your muscle, your muscle.
my muscle. But was I
Yeah.
using? I just drop him later too. But maybe because he's so loyal.
Yeah, you
Right?
could do it.
I
You could
thought
do it.
of all the Star Treks, I thought that Enterprise had the best mirror episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All
yeah.
of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love those 2 episodes. They were fierce.
I mean, didn't Discovery, I mean, I always think about this when Discovery came on and we found out that Giorgio was the emperor.
Empress. Mm-hmm.
When she emperor, she says emperor. So when she came on and they said she was the emperor, I was like, of course she's the emperor. She's descended from Hoshi.
Right?
But
Like that
no,
makes
We're
so much
making up stories.
Too, and people were like, she must be Hoshi's like great, that's what
Mhm.
people.
Well, in her title, they make sure, like, I think, because is Hoshi supposed to be Japanese?
Yeah, Sato.
So they made sure that one of her titles has like a Japanese reference to it, so that
Mhm.
goes back to Hoshi. So they made sure.
Connection. Yeah.
Yeah, you keep going in and out. So we apologize if we're talking over you, because sometimes we think you stop talking. I apologize for that.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah, people ask me like, "Oh, would you like to go back on in the Star Trek world and this?" I think the only way that I'd be interested really is like to play Mirror Universe Hoshi
Mhm.
further in the timeline there,
Yeah.
that would be because I had so much, especially after however many, like 25 episodes a year. So like 75 of just being, I squeezed that nut from everything it was worth. Like,
Yeah.
giving me a lot at a certain time, the growth stopped, I felt for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Point, like the I was very ancillary, maybe little pops here and there, but there wasn't
Mhm.
much to work with really.
Yeah.
And so when Mirror Universe, I was like, oh, I can just do something different.
I get that.
Much
I
longer
totally get.
to be a good girl.
Right? Right? Because you turned it out as Hoshi. I'm telling you,
Didn't
like
you?
you were my favorite part of that episode. Like when I mean that I love that episode. I agree that I think that it's the Enterprise Mirror Universe and then that whole season of
Discovery.
Discovery. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
there's the times when I really love the Mirror Universe.
Mhm.
But like Hoshi, you girl, Linda, you made that whole episode for me.
Yeah.
I was
It
like,
was
Both of
2
them.
of them.
Both
yes,
of them, yeah.
It was 2 episodes.
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was
Mhm.
believable, and it was just the twist. I mean, everything was just perfect about it. Oh,
Yeah. And I remember everyone on set because they were just like, oh, our little 20, because I sort of was like
Oh
21,
yeah.
22, and we said, oh, little Linda. And so then it's like
Little
when
Linda.
the opportunity to step out of kind of that perception of, because they only see one part at work. They only see one
Right.
part
right.
of,
For
Mhm.
sure.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
there's many different parts. And so they're like, oh, where did that come from?
You only knew.
It's just but there's a lot.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think that would be interesting to now revisit Mirror Universe Hoshi, and just to put that own parallel, that Mirror Universe Hoshi
Mhm.
and had like a lot of maybe like of that girl power energy, right? But what would like the really powerful, having been there for a while, like
Mm.
Yeah.
years later, Empress Hoshi,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right there, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see that.
Wouldn't that be
Mhm.
something?
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
because
good.
There's not a
it's
book, Yvette. There's not a book like this.
I'm sure there is. There's got to be a book.
because I mean, like
The
there's the
Litverse.
Hoshi, like there's getting the power, right? But then there's keeping the power.
and then the person you become.
Ooh,
Right.
It's a
Yeah,
good book. Have you seen this book, Linda?
I haven't read it.
So good.
Which book was that so the
Ros-
people who are listening
Oh,
can
I'm
know?
sorry, I forgot. It's a podcast. It's Rosetta, and it's about Hoshi.
Oh,
Oh, I should read
Oh,
it.
I gotta get
Really
that
good.
one.
I'll bring it to cruise as reading material.
Yeah, there you
right?
go.
There you
I'll
go.
bring mine so you can sign it.
Ooh.
I love it.
I
So
don't know. I think
that would be an interesting thing to see, like, then how, like, is she like a kind of the trajectory of Daenerys over time, right? When she went built into her power,
Uh-huh.
she becomes like less of that young girl, and she first
Mhm.
power. But what does that look like? Because I think that could be
Did,
freaking.
did you write this up already?
Mm-hmm.
I think you ready. I think you got the script out already for this one. I love it. You should
Paramount,
call
if you're listening,
what's his name? What's the showrunner now?
She's moving things with her mind now.
I never.
That's what Bene Jesuits do, right? Aren't they mind?
Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Benny Gesserits. Oh,
We're
yeah.
jumping onto all the fandoms
Right?
now.
I love it.
Young, when I first read you when I was younger, I thought I'm a Bene Jesuit and I've been misplaced. Like they're they're gonna find me, like, but it's that same thing of feeling this what I was talking about before, of course, like,
Mm,
especially if you grow up having such strong currents of anger, right? A
Mhm.
feeling like there's a force inside, like if it were unleashed, it could, there could, and so reading things like, I felt that way about Firestarter too.
Mm.
Wow.
Like I really felt like I understood where her ability, when she, and in the end of the movie, when she's walking down the street,
mm-mm.
and just everything, the whole
Everything. Yeah.
Yes.
fire, I was like, I understand that. This, but like now my power is just creating.
Mhm.
Which
Mm.
I want to get back to that because I'm sitting here this weekend at my 50th high school reunion, and you just went back to your high school doing this award you just won. Tell us about what you did there. I mean, Linda,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, I did this in my speech, kind of telling people my story. I I was in a pretty rough school system, especially in junior high. So I grew up in San Jose, and at that time there was a lot of that blood and Crip action. Oakland,
Mm,
say, like, you know, as a threat, if you look at me like that again, my brother's a Crip and he's going to come to your house and he's going to, like people be throwing these things left and right. I grew up being bullied a lot as an immigrant kid, and I had to learn different ways of survival. And one that I had to learn is you never let someone like put you down. You have to fight. Otherwise, people keep coming at you.
Mhm.
Unless you fight back and people realize that you're someone who's not going to take shit,
Mhm.
keep coming at you.
It's true.
There were other situations in my life where I was powerless to fight back, but at school I felt like, okay, this is somewhere I can actually channel all that rage. So I got into a lot of fights, and it would be somebody would say some like lies about me, and then at recess you'd go up to them and you'd say, I heard you were saying this about me, this about me, this about me, and you go back and forth and you say Murphy Park, 3 o'clock after school, and then
uh-oh.
Park is where you would go and fight.
Right.
Everyone goes, oh, there's a fight at Murphy Park. There's a fight at Murphy Park,
Mhm.
And then by the time you get there to fight, there's already a huge crowd. Everybody, you know? And I got into so many of these, mostly girls, once a boy, who was on the local like TV station that was like a Reading Rainbow kind of with a show that, and he was like this blonde kid, and he would, as a kid presenter, would give the local news, and had he would been saying all this stuff about me, and he tried to kick me, and so I grabbed him, but I got his face. I tried to grab him, but I scratched his cheek.
Mm.
He's on TV.
Uh-oh.
I'm the one who got
Mhm.
suspended
Mhm.
or like home suspension. I had to miss Christmas ball, all of this. And then this was at this point, I had been in many fights that the principal said, if she gets into another one, I don't think he would have really done it, but we're going to send her to juvie.
Oh,
Mm.
yikes.
That's wow. That's
Right?
aggressive.
That's a lot. And they
Yeah.
in during free period, I had to go to a counseling class called It's a Mad, Mad World. Um, we're angry
Oh.
and to talk about why we're angry. You know, I didn't share my issues, but what I heard in there from the other kids, like
Mhm.
junior high, a girl having her boyfriend like force her to do sexual acts, like push her down the stairs, another girl cutting herself. I mean, it was like this is the junior high. I mean, as junior
Wow.
not have to be. And like my other situation, I fit in perfectly. You know, I was like, okay, well, I'm not the only one that's really messed up.
Mhm.
And my parents at that time went from no money to rags to upper middle class.
Mhm.
And they pulled me out of there, sent me to private school. This is the school.
Mhm.
And I was secretly like, oh, I don't want to go. But I was so happy because I had to do at school, I did all theater in secret. Because if anybody knew that I did musical theater at my local community theater, I would have been annihilated.
Mm.
And so, and I had been living these two lives, like doing musical theater at Rainbow Theater, like Meet Me in St. Louis, The Little Mermaid, getting into fights in Murphy Park. Yeah,
You really are Hoshi.
Right. I believe the story of the floating crab game and the floating hula game. It now makes sense.
so I'm like living these two lives. And finally, when I got to the school, and it was tiny, like in my class, there was like 50 of us. And when it's that small, there's no popular kid and it's
Right.
just kids who are into different things.
Mhm.
And I remember very early on, I was used to a school where I talked back to teachers, and Sister Marianne would come and measure our skirts, and I rolled up my like private.
Mhm. Yep, I did that too.
I have to go on my knees, and she said, "If it doesn't," and so I started talking back to her. She pulled me by my ear.
Oof.
Sister Marianne pulled me by my ear. She gave me like a tongue lash, and I will never forget that. But I was like, different world here.
Mhm.
How that made me feel this structure made me feel like, okay, I can relax. And over
Mhm.
years there, what ended up happening is when I was there was like no theater program. We did musical theater in the cafeteria. And I went to the local boys' school that had a really good theater program and did theater there. But I wanted our school to have a good program. So I worked with a professional director at a nearby professional theater called San Jose Stage. And I somehow talked him into teaching at this high school for 1 year.
Wow.
And I convinced my school to hire him.
Wow.
And then I convinced the school to build a black box theater in this old mansion that was next to the school because the school had been around since 1850.
Wow.
And back in the day, there was only maybe 5 girls in a class, and there were old pictures of these girls like in sepia with like the Victorian necks.
Mhm.
And the mansion had preserved, each girl had a bedroom. And they lived in this mansion. They went to school in the little like living room and drawing room downstairs. It was very like they had it dressed up like a museum. So you could walk around in there. But there was an attic at the very top. And I got them to build a black box theater.
Wow.
Ken and he drew out the plans. He had people come. We built that theater. He stayed for 1 year. He let me direct 2 shows.
Wow.
The first one was Agnes of God.
Wow.
Wow.
School saw the preview. They tried to shut it down.
Ooh.
English AP teacher to come and watch it and explain to her why it's important. And she
Mhm.
talked to me do it. And then they tried to shut down my second show, which was Urban Jungle, which was a bunch of monologues about women in the city, like a prostitute, homeless woman on a street, a cutthroat businesswoman. And they're like, this is not appropriate for and again, I said, we're in the middle of downtown. I'm reflecting the kind of women struggles that are existing we're saying we're a progressive feminist school, but you're trying to, and what I learned there, and they let me put it on. What I learned is that where there's a will, there's a way. Learn to fight for my vision, because I was in an environment that if you could back up what you wanted to do, you weren't told, oh, shut up, you're just a kid. They would actually listen, because they were trying, even though it was a private Catholic school, they were trying to create very progressive, strong feminist leaders of the future. Their being ambitious wasn't something I had to hide, where at my junior high, I had to hide it because it was like, you didn't give a shit. You know, I got kicked off the cheerleading team because I never went to practice, but because that's what was cool. Like, I'd rather like sneak off with my friends who are smoking, but I did want to go to practice, but it was care. And then here, like, I'm not anything special because the girl next to me wants to be the next Hillary Clinton. The girl across the who has like a beyond 4.0, she wants to be the next Steve Jobs. It was like being in that environment and having, I got really bad grades in a lot of classes, but I was really good in English AP. And the books they had us read weren't the regular, it was like Barbara Kingsolver. It was like modern feminist writers, and the way that I feel like I am innately feminist, and this school basically like sculpted everything that is feminist about myself and gave it the weaponized, well, not weaponized, knowledge. Because knowledge, I think, is something, and I said to them that why I think education is one of the most important things, and no matter what your financial situation, because knowledge is power. Once you have it, no matter what anyone does, they can't take it away from you.
That's right.
Never. That's why they get ready to get rid of the Department of Education.
Right.
Knowledge is that's when people start to know, when people start, then it's a threat, because that ability to have critical thinking,
Exactly.
to know not just what I'm told, but, and I always like, they help me harness that, like, kind of that fight energy I had in junior high by joining the debate team. And then really, really learn the ins and outs of not only critical thinking, but how to clearly, with decisive, clear arguments, make it super tight. And that can only be super tight if you know your shit.
Right.
Exactly. You educate yourself on whatever it is you're debating. And, luckily I'm good at arguing. Relationship sometimes, but that's times to be like, all right, just like, don't always have to win. But yeah, that going back to school, and it was the best part though, was after giving the speech is having the young girls that came up to me and talking to them. I always felt, even when I was in my 20s, I always felt like I related better to kids because there's a kind of honesty, a lack of bureaucracy. Like, there are things in my speech they wanted me to edit out of some of the stuff that was difficult about my junior high, whether it was like sexual harassment, gang violence, and they had said, oh, this might trigger some of the students, this might upset them, and then as I'm talking, these kids, the world that they live, you can't
Thank you.
want to talk about you got to talk the truth. You've
Right.
got
Mhm.
truth
Right.
and give them the tools to say, yes, the world is like this, but
Mhm.
here are ways to not only survive but thrive in the world that we live in.
Mm.
If I'm only telling part of my experience because I don't want to trigger, I don't want to scare kids, you're really, really underestimating kids.
Thank
That's
you.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's it right there.
Because
Yep.
kids, I remember when I was a kid, I was so thirsty for somebody to speak honestly,
Mhm.
right? Like I just remember being so enamored of adults who spoke to me as an equal and like spoke to me with respect and
Yeah.
let me know that they gave me the respect to understand what they were talking about, and not to try to dumb down or hide things from me,
Right.
and kids always want to know because I especially, I was one of those persistent kids. My favorite question is why? Why?
Mhm.
It's still why. Like, don't tell
Mhm.
me just to do something, expect me to just do it. Like, my question is why? Why are we doing this?
Mhm.
What is this serving? Like I gotta know. Like it's, I gotta know.
Sure.
So, and kids need to know that too.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really, and like the school that I send my son to, and I know I'm so privileged to be able to send him to this private school for many reasons, but the big clincher for me is when I went to visit the high school and talking to the kids at the high school there, because it goes from preschool all the way to high school.
Mhm.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That's how my high school was. Like
Mhm.
wasn't there that whole time, but that's how it was too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so the kids who are there, who've been there since like preschool, they call themselves Leela Lifers.
Hmm.
It's also a school where it's so my son right now is learning when I do homework with him, and like it's all in French
Hmm.
Okay.
in these first years. And if he wants to in high school, then he decides if he wants to do like an American version of like the high school, or if he wants to get the French accredited uh uh high school diploma, the baccalaureate.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I wanted to give him the option of thinking for college. If he decides to go to college, the world is changing. I don't think it's necessary anymore. There are
Hmm.
other
Agreed.
do a
Mhm.
personal type of post high school education.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's up to him. But I don't want him to just think America. And I want him to think of the whole world. And yeah, I looked into Korean schools, but sadly, the level of the kind of school in LA for the dual Korean language wasn't, it was much more do as kind of it's like the standard.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I
Mhm.
loved about this high school is what they were really building was critical thinkers. They weren't building like, here is the exact answer. They want these
Mm.
kids to think laterally in all directions
Mhm.
because future jobs, that's what's going to be asked of you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
The workplace in the future is like being an innovative thinker is very, very prized. And not only like being an innovative thinker, but just in life for success, there's going to be rocks and you got to be able to swing left, swing right. You got to be able to
Yeah.
all different levels. And critical thinking gives you the ability at one time to see multiple dimensions.
Hmm.
It's not buying, there's just this one way, there's this one way. Your way,
3D chess.
exactly. That also happens when you're learning two different language. You're
Yeah.
thinking multiple dimensions. You're not
Hmm.
Mhm.
in this one dimension. And having grown up speaking multiple languages, I see how that has wired my synapses, my neural pathways in a specific way that have really helped me. And to be able to have my son do that. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know how we got on that, but just like
School. Talking about school.
so yeah,
Yeah, we aim all the way back to languages. Full
Yeah.
circle.
But I just like Linda, it's like so cool to sit here and talk with you because I feel like we could talk forever. Like you're just so much fun. And we had a lovely conversation even before we started recording, and it just felt so good. I just have to say that in this particular moment, it feels good to be with some sistren,
Yeah.
and to love on each other and be supportive of each other right now. We were on the Women of Trek for Kamala Harris, the Women of Trek for Kamala call, the event together. And we know how much this meant to all of us, personally, and we know how hard this week has been. But I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to, still showing up, like, in this week, in this moment, so we could have just some space just to be right now, not to be, just to exist.
Yeah, yeah. And I am so, like we said in kind of the intro to this, like I'm really, really grateful to have this moment of realness with you guys and feeling that I'm in like-minded, supportive, um, you know, sharing in the disappointment, in,
Mhm.
in the grief, but also applauding, like choosing to stay in the light, stay onward leading.
Yep.
And that is of course, I had to have a couple days or like a day or two where I was like, I really don't want to talk to anybody. I'm going to go to work. I don't feel like talking. I'm going to cry when I'm going to cry. And it's interesting. You say like being in a sisterhood right now, and I realize there's bigger implications besides it just being the Republican Party winning, right? There's bigger implications about um what are you representing as a leader? Yes, policy, but beyond that, what kind of behavior are you modeling in
Yeah.
Right.
That's key.
the world?
Yep.
And that is something that I just cannot. And so the only way I know how to move forward is by being more in the light, by being
Mhm.
more in what I want modeled in the world, raising
Right.
my son, you know. And it's interesting, like I know it's much more in the makeup trailer. Somebody came in and it was post-election, and it was another actor on the show who voted as we did. But he was like, oh, it's not just about her being a woman. That's not that at all. And I could just feel like, and I was like, can you turn on the air conditioning?
Right.
Yes, I understand it's not as simplistic as that, but the truth is misogyny is the oldest prejudice. It is a human legacy. It is a human legacy that we have, and that is our shared ancestry right here
Yeah.
Mhm.
in our DNA, in our cellular system. And yes, there's so many, I understand it's so much more than that. But on that level, to deny, and even women who voted for Trump deny this, oh, that had nothing to do. There are subconscious,
Yes.
societally indoctrinated, subterranean belief don't even realize they're operating from. They
Right.
don't even. And I think for me to have seen previously what I think certain people on social media thought it was okay to say to me
Mhm.
was, that kind of, and coming from a culture of misogyny myself,
Mhm.
I swore that I will never, never live under that kind of misogyny again. The older Korean is incredibly misogynistic.
Yeah.
Movement in Korea now, 4B,
4B.
women,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's extreme. Some are not even having male friends, but they're refusing to get married. They're shaving their heads. They're refusing the beauty standards of makeup. They're going makeupless.
Wow.
Mhm.
Is this, in the same way, like in Mexico City now, where the women, it's been okay to have so much violence against women. Like there's this movement of now women are speaking out when they see other women being hit, when they see other,
Mhm.
like we're now bringing this misogyny out and saying, and in America, we say that we're so progressive, it's past that, but
Mhm.
it is still there. It's
Oh,
subterranean,
yeah.
comes out
Yeah.
sometimes. The thing,
Mhm.
especially under the hidden like veil of social media, some of
Mhm.
these things like go back to the kitchen, like some of these things that are said,
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Wow is right.
no, back to the kitchen.
No.
Right.
No.
I
No.
don't play.
I have somebody for that.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying, right? But it's I love the message of like I gotta keep living in my light.
Mhm.
I was telling somebody the other day, I said, here's the thing. It's hard to
Mhm.
accept that, you know, the outcome was not the way we wanted it, right? Um, it's a lot. And you said it has so many implications, but the one thing I am so 100% sure on is that these people are not going to steal my joy.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm,
this is what they are trying to do. They are centered on demoralizing people and making you feel less than and making you know your place. You know, none of that is going to work on this one.
Mhm.
And I tell them like I just want people to be on point because we're not the black women of yesterday.
Right.
Before, like like this is not there's no uh what do they call it? Nobody's going to make nice with you. There's the
Respectability.
respectability politics. There's none of
Mhm.
that going on here.
No.
We don't care anymore. Like, and these younger women, watch out for them. So, it's not the same old game. And I'm here to live in my light, but I'm also here to protect and fight
Yeah.
if I have to, make no mistake,
We have to.
you know,
We got no
make no
choice at this
mistake.
point.
But I'm going to keep on living my best life,
mhm.
and I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep on shining my radiance into this world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's how
You
that's
can't
how we
steal. Don't steal my joy.
you can't steal my joy, and we
Mm-mm.
can only keep creating more joy together. We might have some hurdles and stuff, but there's one thing that you can't stop, and that's this. And like, so like they said, like she said, we might have lost a battle, but we haven't lost a war,
Right.
you
No.
know.
And you see, and there's only one certain thing in life, and that's change.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And having been through that previous term with him, I know this will come to an end. The
Mhm.
wildly, before we've seen, and I really commit, sometimes I want to be like, well, are we gonna, are now that our side lost, do you see us raiding the White House on inauguration? No,
Right.
not how we do.
Right.
But also, like, yes, not stealing, they want to demoralize it, but also wanting to pull us down to the sewer to
Right.
talk on.
Mhm.
And that's something that I won't do. I won't go into mean talk. I won't do that because
Mm-mm.
for me, that demoralizes myself. That doesn't feel good to me.
Mhm.
Something, and to be fair, there was something I had posted this reel, just talking about how I had really in this difficult time been uplifted by seeing so many of my friends post stories of what they can do now to move forward and
Mhm.
instead of wallowing in hate and saying, well, now we pick ourselves up and we do and to say that basically, like, yes, this really hurts, but everything changes, and to know that yes, this is reality and we're a democracy and this was the results.
Mhm.
That's true.
hate that I got from it was so surprising. I was like, what did I say that was so hateful? You know, like you Marxist, BI, whatever. What I don't know what I said. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not you.
No.
It's them.
I block because,
Yeah.
but then there are people, and this I really, really was warmed by. It was somebody, there was somebody who voted for Trump, but said, basically gave his experience of the last 4 years under Biden. And he said, I had given Biden a chance. And this last 4 years, this is what happened in my life. He said, I hear you, I understand you, but I just hope you'll keep an open mind. And to have that kind, to have voted differently from me, and to have that kind of approach, I deeply respect that. That's more of the energy. Like my friend, our back and forth, the way we've talked. And I said, when the dust settles and we're both more calm, let's sit down and let's hear each other. It doesn't mean that we're going to agree, but it's just hearing each other. And this is what I am trying to, this is my action, right? Is what small pockets of ways can I change the dial of communication, which has been, you guys did this and you guys did, you did. I'm done with that channel. Like, I'm looking for a different channel that changes the frequency, that changes the dial, even in my small way, in my own small interactions, because that's the only way forward that I can see is when people who have different opinions, especially in something as heated as this, can sit down and really listen to each other without trying to change the other, but just to listen, to understand, where are you coming from? I want to really understand like why you think da 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 da. And that's just something I'm working on myself, kind of looping back to how I'm trying to not win every argument, right? Like to work on myself. And so this is that is like, Linda, how can you now listen more deeply without it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we appreciate you coming here and we appreciate you talking about it too. And hopefully like people listening will, be able to gain something from that too, because at some point we do have to shift the dynamic. We have to change the dynamic. We can't keep going the way we're going. It's not going to be healthy for any of us. I think, we're all trying to do that in our own little ways. Well, some of us at least. I mean, like I said, in our community, there's a lot of us in our community who are trying to do that in a lot of different ways. But Linda, I just really want to say thank you so, so much for coming and hanging out with us and making Sabrina's little heart so happy. You see the grin, like you see that smile, like that is going to be like forever.
I left my 50th high school reunion party to come to this taping because I was like, I gotta be there. Wait, don't play without me.
Oh, thank you, Linda, so much. And is there anything coming up that you want to let people know about?
I mean, there's just something that I shot, but I'm not allowed.
I mean, that you can talk about.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
No. Okay.
But there are things
Yeah,
that you just can't talk about them. Okay, because we love you and we'll watch you in anything and everything.
Thank you very much. And I'm excited to give you guys a real IRL hug.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Hopefully not a seasick one, but we'll be there to comfort you if you are.
Right. Get the band.
Yvette, can you let us know where, oh my God, words to me. Can you let people know where they can write in if they have thoughts about seasickness or anything else that we've discussed tonight?
Okay. You can find us at sci-fi-sistas.com. That's SYFYSISTAS.com. Join us on the mothership. That's MUTHASHIP. Almost forgot. And the Sci-Fi Sisters Book Club, both on Facebook. On Instagram, TikToks, and Threads, sci-fi.sisters. And we are also on the platform formerly known as Twitter at Sci-Fi Sisters. For more interviews, the live show, and our infamous Top 10 series, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Sci-Fi Sisters Inc. Become a patron of Sci-Fi Sisters today at patreon.com/Sci-Fi Sisters. The Trek Geeks Network's presenting sponsor is Fansets. Go to fansets.com for pins and memorabilia from all your favorite franchises. Visit fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, all caps, for your exclusive 10% discount. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and write a review. We may just read it on an upcoming episode.
And we'd like to thank our amazing associate producers, Sailor Marge, Stephanie Baker, and Karen Germera. We love you and we thank you for your support. And the baddest engineer in any and all known universes, that's Dose the Anonymous One. He's the audio engineer responsible for the audio engineering on this here podcast, as well as all the music you hear on this show. So if you need his services, hit him up on Instagram at dose_the_anonymous_1. That's the number 1. And we are out of here, folks. We love you so much. Thank you for listening. Peace, love, and hair grease.